I think I destroyed somebody's home. At least that's the only explanation I can come up with for what happened next. It all started with two dying trees. They stood in the yard for years, but eventually became unsafe. We had to cut them down, leaving behind nothing but two weathered stumps. At the time, I didn't think much about it. Then something strange happened. I was mowing, and I noticed one of the stumps looked different. Not dramatic, nothing obvious, just different. I walked over and stared at them. The feeling was so strong that I pulled out my phone and took a picture. The next time I checked, the same feeling hit me. Something had changed. Again. What was going on? I checked the photo on my phone. I was not losing my mind. The stumps were different. That's when I started taking photos every week, then almost every day. I have the photos to prove it, so here's my story. At first it was only small details. Moss appeared, not random patches, as though someone had planted a garden. Then came the questions. What had lived in those trees before I cut them down? Did I destroy everything they called home? An entire world without knowing it? I don't know if it was a dream, my imagination, or what. But what if fairies lived there? And they were rebuilding their home. The more I thought about it, the more I found myself drawn back to the stumps. Every morning I sat on the front porch with a cup of coffee and watched. Nothing moved. No squirrels, no birds, not a chipmunk, nothing. The stump sat completely still, and yet every few days something new appeared. And then one evening I heard it, a faint tinkling sound, like tiny wind chimes. I froze. The sound drifted through the yard for only a moment before disappearing. The strange thing is that I don't own any wind chimes. None of my neighbors do either. I remember standing there wondering what I actually heard at all. Is my imagination gotten the best of me? A few days later, I walked outside and stopped in my tracks. There was a door. A tiny, colorful door built into the stump. I stared at it for a long time. I knew it hadn't been there before. I have photographs proving it. Then another door appeared. Bright red with yellow flowers and little pathways with stepping stones. It looked less like a stump and more like a village. That's when an idea struck me. If something was building there, what would happen if I left supplies? At first, I left a handful of small blue stones near the stump. A few days later, they actually used them. Not scattered, not moved, used. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Excited, I searched my garage for anything else that might help. Little red mushrooms, a small sign that said, "Imagine," interesting pieces of wood, decorative stones, anything that would look like it belonged in a fairy tale. One by one, I placed them near the stumps. One by one, they became part of the growing village. A hollow piece of log became a structure. Another became what looked like an observation deck. A tiny telescope appeared overlooking the yard. I found myself looking forward to each morning, wondering what would be different when I stepped outside. The strangest part wasn't the village itself, it was the feeling. The feeling that I had destroyed their home when I cut down the trees, and somehow they have forgiven me. Not only forgave me, the feeling that they trusted me to help. How magical is this experience? Month after month, the village grew larger and more colorful. And then one day, it stopped. No new doors, no new pathways, no new buildings. The village looked complete. finished. Maybe it was all imagination. Maybe it wasn't. All I know is that I have the photographs. Every tiny door, every pathway, every change. And every time I walk past those stumps, I find myself asking the same question. Who lived there before I cut down the trees? And who lives there now? I'll let the photographs decide.